So Ohio State has been having open indoor practices, and let's just say that the initial reports about the team, and more specifically the QB competition between Julian Sayin and Keinholz, have been all over the place. So in this video, I want to break it all down, and I really want to take a step back and see things for what they really are. Because this is Ohio State, every other fan base is going to try to magnify everything this team does and every problem they have, because they are the champs and they are hated. And on top of that, I want to cover any news outside of all this stuff that's going on right now around the Buckeyes. But before I begin, I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so there were a lot of great things that came out of the indoor practice. The main topic that everyone had something to say about is the QB position. And I know I've made videos in the past hyping up Julian Sayin, but from what I've heard from multiple sources, Sayin looked like the lights were bright, and Keinholz was the one that was consistently making throws. And people were saying early on, if the starting job was determined by what things look like right now, many people think that Keinholz would win the job. And honestly, as much as I love Sayin, and I am not at all writing him off by saying this, but for as good as he is, he did kind of run away from competition at Alabama by transferring, and I want to see him dig deep and actually have to win a competition before everything gets handed over to him. Yes, we all know that Sayin has one of the most talented arms that college football has ever seen, but you have to have the combination of arm talent with that dog in you. Or in better words, you have to have toughness, especially mental toughness. And some guys just don't have it. Some players are so talented, but they fold in the moment, and they fold when their back is against the wall. And again, I'm not at all saying that Julian Sayin is like that, because if I were to bet, I would still take my odds that Julian is the starting QB. But according to random news outlets I've been watching, you would think the sky is falling right now. But again, any news outlet that is not specifically a Buckeyes fan or affiliated with the Buckeyes in some way is going to try to start drama out of pure hatred and trying to get clicks. But those are my thoughts about the QB situation. I think there is a long way to go, and it's too early to make crazy statements, but so far so good for Keinholz. And another area that has specifically looked really good is the cornerback room. Like, I'm not even joking, the Buckeyes may be going into 2025 with maybe 5 and at least 4 Sunday caliber corners. Aaron Scott Jr. has been catching people's attention because he was asked to guard Jeremiah Smith, and even though again it is an indoor practice in early April, there is not as much physicality and nobody is going at 100%, he held his own. Also, one area of the Buckeyes that should be much improved in 2025 is the offensive line. And if they can play anything like how they did in that playoff run, then whoever is under center is going to have all the time in the world to throw. According to multiple sources, the O-line did cause a few plays to be stuffed on 3rd and 4th and short, but outside of that, the O-line was great at pass protection. But when you have great O-line play against your own team, then that raises some questions about the defensive line, because they couldn't get to the quarterback at all. And with Jack Sawyer going to the NFL, somebody else is going to have to make a name for themselves and really step up and be that dominating guy. But at the same time, we need to take what we saw from the D-line with a grain of salt, because Caleb Downs basically did not even play in the practice. He was more of a spectator. And as a defense, it's almost more important to not injure anyone on the offensive end than to play well. One name to look out for is CJ Hicks. He is an animal. He's definitely expected to be a menace next season on the edge. And one thing that has been a pleasant surprise, well, I guess I shouldn't say surprise because that's kind of disrespectful, but the defense has really been bonding and connecting with Matt Patricia. And some players are singing their praise about him even this early in the season. I know there was some backlash when he initially was hired because it's Matt Patricia, but people are so quick to forget all his accomplishments, and also the fact that anybody should be able to step in and coach this defense with how much talent they have. I thought at times last year, even with how well the defense played, that there was room for improvement, and they never really reached their ceiling. So this year is definitely going to be interesting, but as I have said in my previous 5 videos, it all starts with Caleb Downs. He is so good that you can basically build your schemes and what you want to do around him, and he will be the captain leading this unit all year long. And he now has championship experience under his belt. And for the guy on the other side of the ball on offense, who the Buckeyes can build their offense around, I've already talked about Jeremiah Smith a ton this offseason. But he looks like he has put on even more muscle over the offseason, which is insane. And if I were to predict who the Heisman winner was going to be next season, I'd have most of my money on him. because even though Will Howard was a great quarterback, especially over the second half of the season when things were clicking with Chip Kelly, the Buckeyes offense was definitely slow at the beginning of the season. And if say that Julian Sayin is the QB and he's giving Jeremiah Smith a bunch of one-on-one jump balls from game 1 to game 12, he is going to put up a historical season and he is going to break records. And I think Julian Sayin could be the perfect quarterback for Jeremiah Smith, because he has a lightning fast release, and even with his so-called poor performance in indoor practice, he can pretty much hit any blade of grass on the field with his throws. And I do think this decision is going to come down to who is the best QB for Jeremiah Smith. Outside of Jeremiah Smith though, the Buckeyes have a plethora of wide receivers that are going to dominate in 2025. I mean, Cardinal Tate as a number 2 option is scary. I think Brandon Inniss is going to win a lot of people over, but there are even guys like Mylan Graham and Bryson Rodgers who could step up throughout the season if guys get injured. But also, they are just guys in the pipeline that could be huge for the future if they don't transfer. Over Ryan Day's most recent press conference, he was asked about the previous QB competition of Burrow vs. Haskins years ago, and he was asked about how nerve-wracking that was, and this is what he had to say.
Speaking of QB competitions, you were here a little over a year and you had to deal with Joe Burrow versus Dwayne Haskins. How nerve-wracking was that for you at the time, and how has that helped you, I don't know, in subsequent QB competitions?
It's nerve-wracking when you don't have a quarterback. You know, it's a good problem when you have a room full of quarterbacks, and that's part of the process is finding the right one and trying to do the best decision you can. And there's a lot that goes with it. And you know, in that situation, you know, we had 2 great quarterbacks, and they both had great careers. So that's not the one that's as nerve-wracking. When nerve-wracking is when you don't have one. So. But yeah, every year there's just been you know, a different challenge, you know, figuring out who that guy's going to be, and figuring out where their growth takes them. This is a situation where you have Lincoln, who's been here now for 3 years, and Julian, you know, just for a year, and then Tavian just showed up. So all in 3 different points of their career, but all still learning and growing. None of them really have, you know, a ton of significant playing experience.
I completely agree with that. Like I've been saying, it feels like it's the media that is painting the picture that the Buckeyes have a problem with Julian Sayin, or just a quarterback problem in general. I think the Buckeyes right now have 2 quarterbacks that are competing, and competition is good for any position. And both guys have huge upside and do things well in different ways. I think there were a lot of positives to take away from what we saw at practice, and I'm sure there will be a lot to talk about and so much going on with the spring game and all that stuff. But really, that's all I have to say for this video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and let me know what you think about the quarterback competition in the comments below, because I'm very curious to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to do my best to respond to every single comment, and also let me know what you would like to see next. If you made it to this point and you haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. We're only about 1,000, maybe a little more than that away from hitting 50,000 subscribers, and I can't wait to get there. Let's do it, let's get it done, and I will see you all later.